Hi all, welcome to the part 6 of machine learning with Python. In this session, we are going to cover the topic as follows, which is already mentioned in the screen, like dropping a single column of a data set, dropping a multiple column of a data set, then dropping the column of a data set based on the column index, again dropping the multiple column of a data set based on the column index, and then deleting rows of a data set and copying the resultant data set to a new data frame and deleting rows based on index, and also drop the duplicate values. So as we know, we have to import the two libraries, pandas and numpys, which I've already imported, and we have the train dataset which we have followed in the previous sessions. So we'll execute this. Okay, we'll run it from here. Okay, so this is done, executed. Give control L. Okay, now what we do, we have the train dataset. Just give info. We have Now we have the name is at dataset.info. So we have the all the rows and column the details of all the information of this dataset. Now first of all, we'll start with dropping a single column based on the column name. So what we can do, we can say that suppose we have the dataset, right, df. So we can create a new dataset df1, which is equals to dataset, our existing dataset, and dot drop is a command which we'll use based on the name. If there is one column, there is no square bracket, is not read. Just based on the name column will give, comma, axis is equals to 1. This is a very important command, axis. If you give axis is equals to 1, it will delete the entire row. If you give the axis is equals to 0, then that goes for the axis equals to 1 goes for the entire column, and axis is equals to 0 refers to the entire row. So we'll execute this. Roll enter. Print df1 dot control enter. So you can see that name column is not there. Now what we'll do, so how to we see, just now we have seen how to remove the column of a data set based on the name, based on the column name. Now we will number 2, how to drop the multiple column of a data set again based on the name, based on the column name. So this thing we will do by now we have our dataset one, right? So we'll give dataset df1 is equals to df1 dot drop, and then if we are like dropping more than one column, then we have to give the square bracket. Like suppose if you want to drop the Pclass, comma, we want to delete the cabin. Suppose you can choose any other value, and then again you have to give for in dropping the column, you have to give axis is equals to 0, x is equals to 1, and then here you give shift and control enter. So that is done. We'll print our print df1 dot head. So you can see that p column and the cabin is dropped from this data set. So we can now we will see how to remove the, we will cover how to remove the column of a data set based on the index. So for this, if you are referring to index and if you want to delete, then uh, the syntax is as suppose we will give df1 is equals to df1 dot drop, and inside again you have to give df1 dot columns, and then suppose if you want to give the first column, then and you give axis equals to 1, and then press Control Enter, highlight it, and then, so now if you print, if you execute this, now you can see that the first column here in the previous the last execution was passenger ID was survived, because the passenger ID is a 0th column, like as we like deal in Python. So now that survived column is gone, it is being dropped now. So these first three topics is covered. Now if you want to drop the multiple columns of a data set based on the column index, then how do we achieve this? That will be df1 we have, right? So we'll suppose now we copy it into some other data set. This is the technique of creating another data set based on the existing data set dot drop, and then you give df1 dot column. Okay, now because we are going to drop more than one column, so we will select, suppose we will select first column and the third column. So what is the first column? 6, and the third column is a sibling. Okay, so this, so we'll give 1 comma 3 and access is equals to 1. We execute this. Okay, this is the syntax. Columns it should be. Okay, and now we'll print our okay. So you can see that the column is gone, the sex column and the sib sp column is gone, right? So we have completed this 4 topics here. Now